Hi, my name is Randall Chapman, and today we take on FunBox Lunchbreaker. FunBox Lunchbreaker was authored by 0815R2D2, and in the description it said this box is for beginners and can be pwned in a lunch break. It's a lot of fun. And as you can see, I already have the box up and running. So with that, let's get to work, and for fun, we're going to start a timer. Okay, so we're going to start out by opening a terminal window, and of course we're going to do net discover, but it's sudo net discover. And it's going to take a second to bring up the IP. Now, I know there's other ways we could go about and do this, but basically the way I'm going to present it right now is how I went through and discovered how to get through the whole box. And as I can tell you right now, I know from working through this before that the IP is actually 112. So we're going to go ahead and stop that, and then we're going to nmap 192.168.56.112. And here we see that we've got an FTP, SSH, and an HDT port open. So what we're going to do first, of course, since we have port 80, we're going to go through and we're actually going to open a web page, and it's 192.168.56.112. And we're presented with this image on the web page. And honestly, there's nothing here. So, as always, my first thing is I always check to see what the robot's text is. And it's disavowed, derb, go buster, and etc. And it's allow the WYSIWYG, which I think is WordPress. So. But it's not real helpful. So next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go and view source. And with viewing the source, we can tell that we get a username, Jane. And with that, we get kind of our first piece of the puzzle, because with having that, we're going to use a tool called Hydra. And Hydra is kind of like a password cracking tool on web pages. It does very similar things to Burp Suite's Intruder. Now, they both are kind of do the general the same thing, but they both have their own features. Even though Hydra is a command line tool, it does have its own wizard. And to do the Hydra wizard, you just type Hydra, and I think it's -wizard, RD. And as you can see, it asks you what type it is, and we're going to be attacking the FTP port because the SSH, can be set to only allow certain many of logins before it starts timing out. And of course, as we saw, the web page doesn't have a login area. So the best one to attack for this would be the FTP port. But the one thing about the wizard is it takes the password file, if you use a password file, and then compares it trying every login for every password. So it actually would try, if you supplied it one login, it would go down the entire list, even if it found passwords that worked. There is a way to use it to where you could actually see if two separate users are actually using the same password, which could identify that you have one user with two different logins. So there is a use for it, but for now, we're just going to type out Hydra. And -L for lowercase is actually using usernames, and we have Jane. And if we did a capital L, that would be for an actual username file we could specify. And it's the same thing for the password file. If we did a lowercase password, we'd actually enter the password to see if it would work. But we're actually going to use the RockU password file. So we're going to use this as capital P. So, and it's RockU.
txt. And then we're going to specify the IP address, 192.168.56.112. And then, of course, we have to tell it what kind of port we're going after, and that's going to be the FTP. So, and we're going to let it go for a second, but as you can see, Jane uses a very terrible password called password. So, with that, we're actually going to log into the FTP. It's 192.168.56.112. And then we get in here, we're going to do Jane, and then password is password. And we got successful. So what we're going to do is we're going to see what we can see. So we're going to do ls-l, and as you can see here, we do have a list of directories, but we can really only go into the backups directory because the other ones don't have permission. As you can see in the beginning over here, they don't. So basically we're going to cd into backups, and ls-a, and we have a keys text. Now we're going to get that keys text, and now we've successfully downloaded it. So we're going to open up another terminal window. As you can see, I have not only my Rocky password file, but also the keys text. Now, we're going to cat keys txt, and these look like product keys. Now, this is a dead end. I can tell you right off the bat, this is a dead end after working through this before. What we want to do is actually go back to being in the FTP server, and we're going to cd.not and ls-a. Now, there's nothing in this directory, but if we go cd back ... to back up another directory, we're going to find usernames right here. So now we've got Jane, Jem, John, and Jules. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hydra against the FTP port with our password file for those usernames, but I'm going to automate this and actually create a file with Jem, John, and Jules in it. So to get out of FTP, we're going to quit, and now we're back to our base file. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to echo a CHO. We're going to do Jules. Yes. We're going to put that into a name. Just name file. So name f.txt. And then we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it with Jem. And we're going to change that to append after we create the file. And then we're going to add John to that. And as you can see, we've got Jules, John, and Jem. Or Jules, Jem, and John. But, you know, ladies go first, so that's why she's at the top of the list. Okay, so we're going to switch back over to our other window. We're going to go back into Hydra. And we're going to use the same FTP, but since we're using a file now, we're going to do a capital L, and it's going to be name f.txt. And this is going to take a little while to go through and find the actual
passwords. Okay, as you can see, two passwords popped up. Now, I can tell you from working through this before and letting the Hydra go for a few hours, it's never going to find the John password. So basically what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and stop this because it just will keep going and going and going. Okay, so now we want to, we're going to FTP into Joules. So to do that, we're just going to switch over to this one and FTP, this terminal window, 192.168.56.112. And we're going to do Joules. And of course, her password is sexy lady. And we're going to do an ls-a so we can get everything. And so file directories we can get into is backups and cache. So we're going to go to cache first. And pretty much the only thing in here is the message of the day. But what's important to point out is message of the day is 0 bytes. So it means that's an empty file. And there's a reason why I point that out now because it'll come into use later. cd dot. Now, so we have backups because it's the only directory we can actually actively get into. So cd dot backups. A, and now we have shown here backups of password lists. And as you can tell, we have bad passwords, forbidden passwords, good passwords, and very bad passwords. But the reason why I point out the message of the day is because on forbidden passwords and very bad passwords, you can see they're 0 bytes. So we don't have to bother with those two. So that only leaves us with bad passwords and good password. So we're going to go ahead and get dot bad pass wds, and then we're going to do the same thing for the good pass. All right, and quit. And so when we nmap this before, we had an FTP port, we had SSH port, and a HTTP port. Now the thing is, we could try to SSH in to Joules. Which I did before, 192.168.56.112. And yes, we want a fingerprint. And for that is sexy lady, LATY. And as you can see, we're in, and pretty much it's the same thing. It's ls-a, and it just kind of gives us the same stuff. Now, the good thing about this is we have SSH access on this one, but we already got the files we want. So we're going to go ahead and quit. Or exit, I mean. And ls-a for the working directory we're in. And right now, I'm going to get rid of that Hydra file because since I canceled the Hydra before it went through its entire password list, it's got a restore directory, a restore file to where it can pick up right where it left off. but we don't need that. And if we're to restart Hydra again, even if we weren't restoring from a previous session, it still has like a 10-second countdown, which is kind of a pain in the butt. So we're just going to go rm hydra door, and as simple as that is, it's gone. So all right, so what I want to do is I'm going to actually combine the bad passwords and the good password file together. And to do that, we're going to cat bad dash pass wrds, and we're going to make a file called pass wds.text. And that's going to no R. All right. So that's created that password text out of the bad passwords list. And to do the same thing, we're going to do that with, we're going to add the good password to it. You got to remember to add that extra to pin the file. So now we've got one password list, and just for fun, I'm going to show you that password list. It's a pretty sizable list. I mean, it's not quite as big as the RockU text, but it's still quite a good sized list. So anyway, I'm going to let that run in the background, and I'm going to switch over to my other window because it's still going. And I'm going to Hydra, but we're going to change this out for John. So we're going to go back to L, John, and we're going to change this to the pass WRDS text. We're going to get that running. Did R again. Okay, so since that's running, this list is still going. And I'm just going to let this one kind of play out to the end. All right, as you can see, it's quite a large list. So let's go back to the other window. And this is actually comparing that password list to the John login on the FTP server. And this one's going to take a little bit. Okay, as you can see, it did find a password, and there's no way we could have brute forced or guessed that one. So this time we're going to SSH into John at 192.168.56.112, and password is ZHNMJU exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, enter. And we're into the system. So now what we want to do is we want to look around. So we're going to do ls-a, and let's just do it as a list. And we have a file called to do. So we're going to cd that to do, and do the same thing. And we have a to-do list. And the good thing about being SSH'd in versus FTP in is we can actually use the cat command to look at the contents of files. And this is a to-do list, and one is install LAMP, install mail system, install firewall, install Pulesky, excuse me, and then change root password because it's the same right now. Which, let's try switching the super user. and it would be ZHNMJU123, and bam, we have root. So cd/root and ls-al, and we have the root flag right there. So cat root dot flag, and congratulations, we have pwned this box and we have victory once again. Thank you for watching my video.